And what this does is hides that raw wood from showing through, and it gives your kitchen a nice custom look. That's the way the pros do it. Alright, now it's time to install our filler. Now, for this, we have to leave the cabinet upright simply because it'll fall down. So, just put it in place, use your super clamp, thing on bottom. It's pretty good. Up here we're smooth, and down here where our clamp is we're smooth, but right here we're not. And that's typical because wood has a tendency to bend. So what I'm going to do to fix this is I'm going to go ahead and screw it in up top where we're looking good. Then I'm going to use the leverage of the filler and I'm going to pull forward and bring this where it should be and screw it together. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom one. So again, we're going to do this very close to our hole for the screw, for our hinges, so we can't see our set screw. And that'll be nice, you won't see any of that. Again, I'm going to move this down to the middle so we can get it nice and flat. So I'm going to pull this filler out even further than what it should go to get this nice and smooth, so it's smooth all the way. And then I'm going to tighten my clamp. Now we don't have a hinge here, so I could drill in this side. You know, it's very acceptable. Most people don't mind seeing the screws. I myself don't like to see them, so I'm going to come in from the other direction. Again, just to bury it so you don't see it. Notice this is still off. This is nice and smooth back here. Okay, now we're going to be able to push this in place here. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and screw together our corner cabinet and our first cabinet. It's going to be a little more difficult because we've got our 2-inch spacer here. So once we get this clamped and screwed, we're going to have to come back here with a 2x4 and screw into that to strengthen up the backs, just like we did the other one. Since our clamps won't fit across this, looks like we've got a pretty good fit right here. So I'll go ahead and clamp it together like this. Now, finding this angle is different because we've got to screw in this direction. It's very difficult to find on the inside of the cabinet, so sometimes you can cheat a little bit by going on the top and bottom of the cabinet. Really what we want to do, here's our clean line right there. You just don't want to blow out the top or the back. You want to get a nice clean line in here, and this looks like a pretty safe bet. I'm going to angle in just a little bit to keep this chuck off the top of our cabinet. Always go slow to make sure you don't hear any cracking wood. There we go. Okay, now that we've got our cabinets screwed together, we're going to go ahead and tilt them up so we can get our spacer in up here. But you want to be very careful when you do this because it's very weak here. So make sure you got a man on each end of the cabinet to bring these cabinets up. Now we've got 2 pieces of cabinet together. Just about always you start from the corner and work in either direction. And if you come on in here, you'll see that not only are we screwed together in the fronts, but we measured here, this is about 2.5 inches. We went ahead and cut a couple of spacer blocks, just using basic 2x4s, and put them in here to strengthen up this back. Screwed in both directions here. Same thing down here. Got a screw going in right here and right here. And this is just going to firm this whole unit up. So basically what we have here is one solid piece of furniture. That way we don't have to worry about handling it, and go ahead and get it in place. Good? All right. Okay, now we're about to hang our wall cabinets, but we're going to have to deal with their lights. Okay, so now is the time. We've got our ledgers in place. We need to go ahead and bore a hole in the bottom of our cabinets to allow these wires to come through. So we measured a while ago, and this is the beginning of our cabinet run here. So all we have to do is measure over from here, and we see that the cabinets are about 21 plus inches. We could go either way with that. So follow me on over here. This is our cabinet run. And we're just going to measure over. We're looking at the cabinets upside down. We're going to measure over about 21 inches, give or take. I'm just going to use a 3/4 inch paddle bit. Be very, very careful. You want this hole to be attractive. Just clean up our edges here. Slide me an 1/8 inch. One more. More. One more. Right there. Now we're just going to put in one screw in the top of the cabinet just to hold it in place while we finish off the rest of the kitchen. Remember, the ledger board below the cabinet has all the weight, but this is going to enable us just to get the cabinets tacked into place, make sure there's no mistakes, then we'll come back and screw them off. Now remember, just like before, with this section of cabinets, we're only going to need to put one screw in the top just to hold it in place while we complete the rest of the kitchen. Okay, the first of our cabinet run is hung now. Let me tell you why we do this. It's very, very important that you at least get one cabinet on either side of your corner cabinets together. Ideally, it's best if you have a cabinet on each side and you put 3 together. The reason is your walls are rarely ever plumb. Things are just off by a few degrees. And if you start with the corner cabinet, you're going to have to plumb it up and level it and so forth. But the slightest variation, once you carry it down to the end of the run, can really throw you off by as much as a half an inch. So what we do is we attach the cabinets together, put them on as one unit. Now, if you follow me over here, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Notice we're flush against the wall on the bottom side. But if you go up to the top, we're off as much as a half an inch, maybe 9/16. Our cabinets are perfectly plumb, but the walls are well off. So that's going to have a shim. Now come over here to the other side. Again, the bottoms are nice and tight. But if you follow me up, we've got about maybe a 1/16, possibly an 1/8 of an inch there. That's going to need a shim. Okay, here's the thing. When I say that we're going to shim these cabinets, what I mean is if there's a gap between the cabinet and the wall, and we were to screw that flush to the wall, we would change the angle of the cabinet. We don't want to do that because our cabinets are perfectly square and perfectly plumb. What we want to do is get a shim in between the cabinet and the wall and then screw them tightly to the wall. That way they stay plumb.